9:19 News and Views on Salam Media. Now, on Monday, the 19th of June, marked the 110th year when the 1913 Natives Land Act was enacted in the then Union of South Africa. It prohibited natives from owning, leasing, or acquiring land. The act was repealed in June 1991. The passing of the 1913 Natives Land Act marked the beginning of the formal dispossession of land in South Africa. To talk to us about this matter is I think, let's just see, it is Chrischene Julius, Acting Director and Head of Archives at the District 6 Museum. A very good morning to you. Welcome to the program. Okay, I can't hear you.
Good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Okay, Chrischene, this is a very painful situation, I should imagine. You do want to do everything in your power possibly to try and, get back the land to the rightful owners or their descendants. It's the right thing to do. It's a very, very painful time in our history. Uh, but why specifically the issue on District 6? Does this not apply to people that were dispossessed of the land all around the country?
Restitution is a very important topic for all South Africans. So, whether you're from District 6 and you were displaced under the Group Areas Act during apartheid, but as you mentioned, the 1913 Land Act was really a moment that crystallized land disposition in South Africa for all South Africans. And in that moment, we have to acknowledge that that has happened. We need to ensure that people receive justice. But at the same time, it's not just about justice, it's also about people being able to have a sense that their dignity has been restored.
What about people? We know that you focused on District 6 here, but the type of stories or issues that would be raised regarding repossession or restitution regarding land that was stolen from people all around the country. What if they don't have paperwork to prove that their parents or grandparents had rightfully owned that piece of land? Are there, people or are there places that one could be referred to try and assist in helping them get the necessary paperwork or prove whom they are and then be restituted for land stolen from their forefathers?
So I think that's a very important question because the land claims, the ability to put in a land claim was reopened in 2013. And one of the key requirements was that you needed evidence of living in District 6 or living in the place that you were dispossessed from. And many people, as we know in our families, people were literally thrown out of District 6. They didn't keep their rent cards. They didn't keep, their accounts with the local shopkeeper. And so, what we really want to advise people in those moments when you are looking for birth certificates, when you are looking for something that proves that your family lived at an address, you should visit the Western Cape Archives and Record Services, which is in Ruland Street. People, District 6s will know it as the old Ruland Street Jail. And there you can actually find the birth certificates. You can actually, especially for people, for example, who were born at Peninsula Maternity Hospital, you can do family research to show that your family did live at a particular address. They have street directories there, and the street directories will often tell you which family was living in Stakira Street as well as their house number.
Okay, failing that, those type of documents being on hand, if one has some sort of other family history documented suggesting that your grandparents or parents did in fact live at a particular location and they owned the land or they traded in that area for many, many years, what further type of proof does one need to furnish to get one's case heard or seen to?
Think that, for example, with people who own businesses, shops on the corners, sometimes you would have to apply for a business license from the city. So there might be some evidence in that way that your family traded at that spot. There might be sort of evidence coming from other community members. But I think we must also remember that um, with the first round of land claims, people could provide evidence from family members, from your neighbor. People could deliver affidavits. And one of the restrictions at the moment when they reopen the land claims in 2013 is that they actually want a physical piece of paper that has some sort of evidence that your family lived in that place. But I think the rent cards that people used to own, I think some people still have them. They are all forms of documentation. Anything with your address, your family name that indicates where you lived.
Okay, so how are you assisting people to be restituted? And are you getting a lot of people coming forward and saying, my parents, my grandparents, and let's talk particularly District 6, because that's where your interest lies. And are they being successful, or is it very long and drawn out? And is it a situation of a choice of whether you can have back the piece of land where your grandparents or parents owned the land, or is it a monetary, can they have the choice of being paid out monetarily? And what does that look like? Is it feasible for them to go that route?
Well, I think as being the District 6 Museum, we are interested in coming back to District 6. And so there are two options when you're applying for land claims, for land claim. You can opt for financial compensation, or you can opt to return to District 6. And we encourage people to opt to come back to District 6. But I think we all know from news headlines, from just the experience of the restitution process thus far, that it's been a very slow process. There's a lot of anger, a lot of frustration. People who have put in their claims in 1998 already, they still haven't returned to District 6. And so we are concerned that those claimants who come in 2013 might not be successful, well, or that it will take a long time to come back. But in that moment, I think when people are feeling desperate, when they want to come back to District 6, or they want that injustice to be recognized, we really try to encourage people to not take the financial compensation. Displacement from District 6, from all areas in Cape Town, in South Africa. The land restitution process is one way to come back to the physical space that you grew up in, that your family had grown up in for generations, and that opportunity can be handed over to descendants. So, for example, if you're an elder and you have a land claim, please be sure to please ensure that in your will you actually make allowance for the fact that your claim can be handed down to a younger generation, because that is also the generation that we are thinking of.
What do you believe is the reason for possible disinterest in coming back to District 6? Someone that I was speaking to a little while ago who came from that area suggested that they may give me back my land. I may build my house, a replica of what my house looked like way back then. But how many other people are going to come back, and how many other people are going to work at recreating the vibe, the gees, as we say, that was evident way back in the day. So there's that people use as a stumbling block. They have since settled and probably quite comfortable where they are currently. So how are we going to get back that beautiful vibe of District 6 in days gone by? Because that is what a lot of people do want to recreate, but they're afraid it may not happen.
I think it's a real fear. I think because we find that, when you come back to District 6 and you're a claimant, it doesn't look the same. It doesn't feel the same. When you're walking through District 6, the streets are gone, the buildings are not there, the landmarks aren't there. And I think for a lot of people, I think we take comfort from an older generation that, when you speak to them, they know that physically the space is never going to be the same, but they're very much committed and invested in recreating the gees, the spirit of District 6, the spirit of Canala. And I think that is something that can be taught to younger generations who are living in District 6 at the moment as well. And it's a difficult process. And I think that it's just coming back to District 6 is about the people who are coming back through a land claims process. But you know, things like Tweede Nuwe Jaar, the Klopse, they still start in what we call this New Hanover Street. And so there are traditions that are associated with District 6 and with the community that continue to live. People still attend certain churches, people still attend the mosques. And so I think that when we speak about return to District 6, yes, it may be about coming back physically, but we also know that we own the space, we belong to that space. And so it becomes part of our community's rituals and traditions.
Let's understand why is it that the Land Claims Court has dragged their heels so sluggishly for this long? Because surely had they been very proactive, things might have been we might have been looking at a totally different picture. But because they've been so slow, people probably have lost interest, resettled elsewhere, and kind of think, well, I'll just take the the financial settlement as far as my parents' land is concerned. Was this, do you believe, deliberate on their part, or just a situation of them not knowing what they're doing?
I think it's a bit about a bit of both. So when you're speaking to former residents who have land claims, they've got the reference number. Their stories are about the incompetence of the bureaucracy that is meant to enable the return to District 6. And so you find that there's a layer of bureaucracy within the land claims process and restitution process in general that is just slow, that doesn't treat people with dignity, that loses their case files, loses their numbers, and people have to start from scratch at different points or they're given wrong advice. And whether or not that's deliberate, I think we can only speculate. We know that the District 6 issue does become a hot topic during election years, with people promising to deliver housing because they want to deliver a vote. And so I think it's all of those factors that slow down the restitution process. I think one of the strengths of the District 6 claim has been, and we see it as a strength, but I think it's been a challenge for many people as well, is that it's a community claim. It's not individuals who are planning to come back. There's a community claim. And so there's also the added process of consulting with community, presenting plans for how the new homes are going to look, receiving the feedback, and then implementing the feedback. So there are many steps that need to happen. Um, on a practical level, I know that the city has to ensure that the foundations for the new homes have to be on proper foundations. When District 6 was demolished, the government just left the rubble on the site. So when you're walking in District 6, the ground needs to be prepared. There's a whole lot of impact studies that need to happen for laying new sewage pipes, new sort of to just ensure services on the site. So all of those factors combine to into a process that feels very slow, is very slow. And I think one of the main concerns is that we don't communicate with our community enough around what those challenges are, and that at the level of bureaucracy there is a level of incompetence and a lack of care towards a restitution process.
Let's wrap up then, Chrischene. Your interest in this matter. Are you a descendant of District 6 as well? And how close is this whole this matter to your heart?
I always feel like I'm caught out when I'm asked that question. So I'm not from District 6. I'm
Okay.
not from District 6, but I think that I always communicate, I always tell people that my parents were displaced in the Paarl area. And so as I was growing up, those were the stories that I grew up with. We used to take family sort of road trips on Sundays to the places where my father used to go to church. We went to school. And so you really find that there's a deep connection between our communities in terms of what we experience collectively. And I think the District 6 Museum is just a home for us to start putting the pieces together, the fragments of our histories and our family histories. And so that's my connection to District 6.
Wonderful. Lest we never forget, it is a very, very important house or a place, and that is, of course, the District 6 Museum, a place where we and our children and our future children can go to and see what our parents and grandparents were subject to, and the beauty of the then District 6. Lovely talking with you. Please continue supporting the people regarding land claims and restitution. God bless, and take care.
Thank you.
That was Chrischene Julius. She is the acting director and head of archives at the District 6 Museum. It is 9:34. Standing by to talk with us is Miss Nuna Ali, Muslim Hand South Africa. We'll be with her in a minute.